Good morning. My name's Hayden Shields, and today I'll be discussing the history and threats to the Colorado National Monument, alongside my partners Peyton Michelson and Asher Gold. The foundational rock of the Colorado National Monument dates back 1.7 billion years. Since then, erosion from winds and waters over hundreds of millions of years have carved it out into the canyons we know today. There is evidence that this land was used by native tribes, such as the Ute, as an area for hunting and gathering over the years, but it was entirely unoccupied by the time one John Otto arrived in 1907. He wanted to share its beauty with the world, and thus began years of petitioning and campaigning until finally it was recognized as a national monument by William Howard Taft, our 27th president, in 1911. Since then, the monument's popularity has steadily climbed over the decades, reaching a total 600,000 visitations in 2015. The IUCN slots the Colorado National Monument into Category 5, a protected landscape. Another important thing to note is that, while of course the monument's management team and native wildlife are clear stakeholders, the monument is equally important to the people of Grand Junction, the city it's adjacent to. The tourism that the monument brings in through Grand Junction has created a certain economic dependency, one that does not go without its adverse effects, as you'll soon see.
The Colorado National Monument faces quite a few threats due to the rapid urbanization and population rise in the surrounding area. The hydrofracturing that takes place outside of the park, but still in the area, creates a potential for geological shifting, which can completely change the foundation of this park. There is also the threat of the noise and light pollution. The Colorado National Monument is known for their dark night skies, which, due to the light pollution increasing over the years, it is slowly taking away this very special part of the park. This park was created due to erosion from wind, water, and other elements. But with this increased population, this process is being accelerated and can degrade the soil quality, which poses threats to animals and plants within the park. This can also lead to habitat loss and fragmentation, which is very detrimental to the livelihoods of these animals that should be protected. While tourists are very important to funding, it can also have a detrimental effect on the population, which can affect the park and the animals and plants which reside in it. While all of these threats affect different parts of the park, urban development does contribute to all of them and makes these problems worse or creates these new ones.
The National Park Service is well aware of the threat that urban development poses towards the National Monument, evidenced by their research and data on local populations. However, they have not taken any affirmative action to counteract it as of yet. In their efforts to counteract the threats to the park's ecosystem, Colorado National Monument employs three key principles. They believe, first of all, that a systematic assessment of human-caused threats may aid effective management. It is understood that humans are just as much of the part of the ecosystem as anything, and therefore also require measures for management, because they have the potential to make some of the most significant impacts on the environment. Secondly, they hold that effective environmental planning processes are necessary to combat threats to protected areas. Any action being taken on such a scale as a national monument will need proper planning before being put into place, specifically planning that puts the environment first, considering the whole reason this park was founded was because of that. The management at Colorado National Monument also understands that threat can arise as a tyranny of small development decisions over time and can change the nature values of PAs. Every action will have consequences, oftentimes unforeseen, and those can introduce new factors that require this. This is a delicate issue because the monument gets its funding from visitations by the very people developing the land around it. So the goal here is to achieve a form of balance rather than outright kicking people out. Hypothetically, if the National Park Service could establish a border around the park where continued urban development would not affect the monument's landscape with light or noise pollution or smog, we could hope to lessen the effects of a rising population. The management at Colorado National Monument has put in place a number of management zones to establish what conditions are ideal for each area of the monument, as well as what management processes should be employed within. Similarly, they have a recreation opportunity spectrum to designate what activities are acceptable within certain areas. While this seems perfectly fine in theory, officials at the monument have still noted that visitors have acted in disregard of these areas. It would seem that more proper enforcement of zone boundaries will be needed to keep visitors from unintentionally harming the landscape.